It is the Anfield Wrap. I've got Reddy, Gareth Roberts and Andy Heaton with me. We are in association with RedsBet, the gambling company where 50% of their profits, your losses, goes back to fan-related causes. Going back years when I used to host the Anfield Wrap, we used to have an opening question, and the purpose of the opening question from my friend John Furlong was the idea that people get to know the contributors better. But one of the things I used to love to do when Liverpool had been disappointing was to elongate the opening question as long as humanly possible and hopefully put us all in a better mood to deal with the match. So, Gareth, what's your favourite Ride album?
I mean, Nowhere's an absolute cracker, which is the debut album. I've still got a big soft spot for that.
Yeah.
Going Blank Again, also a cracker. And
they never made a bad one, did they, mate?
Not really. I mean, Carnival of Lights is probably the poorest one, but the most recent one was a cracker. Great to see them back after all this time, and I'll probably go and see them again sometime over the summer.
Reddy, have you had the chance to listen to the new Solange record yet?
No, not yet. And what happens when the opening question disappoints you and then therefore elongates your disappointment from...
Listen, you might not be a fan of Ride, but I've thrown you Solange as an underarm there, and you can have a little look at it. What was your favourite record from 2018?
Good question. A lot of options there. I'll think about it.
You think you'll come back to me? No one was expecting this shit, but then no one was expecting that shit yesterday. So it's one of them. It goes both ways. Andy Heaton, favourite Lars song?
Is the one moving to... Is the one on the... What album is... What B-side is where Lee Mathers says Everton is shit?
Good Lord.
That one.
I tell you what. Merseyside derby, then Everton 0, Liverpool 0, and it was indeed Reddy 2 points dropped. There's no other way to take it. There's no other way to go from it. Liverpool attacked so very badly.
You just nailed it there. This thing about a good point at difficult grounds or a good derby point or anything like that, things that you historically say, doesn't apply when you use context. The context is, in the first half, you're watching the game and Liverpool have more quality, it's quite obvious, and you're thinking, all that needs to happen is Liverpool start asserting themselves on the game and stop it from being a scrap, impose themselves, and Liverpool will get what they then deserve. Unfortunately, that never happens, and that never happens because there's a sense of conservatism in these big away games that I think, with the exception of going to Tottenham, we've seen throughout the season. And, at Arsenal at the Emirates, for example, it was fine then because Arsenal were actually good in that game. It could have gone either way. But against Manchester United, who, given all their injury issues prior to the game, then during the game, they were on their knees, and Liverpool did not take the opportunity to keep them there. They gave them a way out. And against Everton, it was the same when the opposition are not doing anything really beyond kicking it long to Virgil van Dijk, which is a very odd game plan, and you don't take the initiative to make the game yours, you're just wasting it.
First half is broadly all right, Gareth, in that sort of let's see what happens next thing that can happen in difficult away games, not dissimilar to maybe first half at Watford or maybe first half at Burnley, the games Liverpool were having last November. But second half, I think it's staggering that I think that every 5 minutes Liverpool got worse. That every 5 minutes Liverpool were poorer. And it was the opposite of whatever the opposite of building up ahead of steam is. It wasn't as though Everton were imposing themselves in any sort of way. I think Everton just realised in 65, hang on, there's something in this for us, rather than the idea that they've grabbed the game away from Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt we offered them encouragement, and sort of second half, more of a derby broke out. First half, it felt like, sort of as we talked about in the build-up, really, that Liverpool approached it in a way where they were just mature and professional about it, and we're like, we're determined not to allow the emotion to get to us. Everton obviously do what Everton do, and you can't fault them for doing that. They got themselves pumped up, they got the crowd pumped up, but they didn't particularly play well. They weren't great. They looked like a 10th place team in the Premier League.
At
best, yeah. I mean, I know they're all celebrating the point like they won a trophy, but it was poor. And if the best thing you've got for 24 years is a 0-0 against Liverpool, then it's been a pretty shit time to support Everton, then, hasn't it, for a long, long time? But yeah, Liverpool needed to do better, and I think the key word for me, Mel's already said it, is that there was a weird conservatism about them. I thought even first half, you're saying it was okay, but I didn't feel like there was that intensity to the press. I felt like they were sort of letting them have it a little bit, and it was kind of like, well, is that the plan? Is the plan to sort of let them run themselves out of steam a little bit, Everton? If it was, it didn't work. And yeah, progressively worse is right. I mean, I kind of looked at it thinking, well, we've got Firmino there in our back pocket, and that can make a difference when he comes on. And then it didn't really, which was a bit of a shame. And yeah, the subs, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into all that, but I didn't really understand them. I didn't get them. They didn't make us better either, really. And yet we offered them encouragement. I mean, look, they were determined to spoil our day. That's all they've got. And, you know, I'm fine with that, by the way. You know, we did that to Man United. We've celebrated draws against Man United when we knew it cocked things up for them. I was fine with that at the time. I was fine singing "You Lost the League" on Merseyside to Manchester United. It's shit, like. It's the lowest form of fandom, if you like that, when you're celebrating that kind of thing.
It's a miserable place to be, but it's still a place to be.
Yeah, and it's still all right at the time as well. But, like, you know, I mean, there's a lot of crowing going on today, and you'd expect it to be that way. And, you know, I've had some directly at me and things like that. Again, I would expect it to be that way, the amount of shit I've given Everton and Evertonians over the years. It's all absolutely fine. If it was the other way around, I would be doing it back. So enjoy yourselves, lads, but you still can't.
The getting worse is what worries me, Andy. The Liverpool's wretchedness, to be honest with you, in attack. I think it could well be our poorest performance of the season, and there's a sense where I'd be all right with that if I didn't just think we just whacked out our best performance of the season against Watford. I think that's what makes it strange. If you felt like we were just in general in a bad place, it'd make more sense. For me, I just think, well, we've gone from attacking brilliantly against Watford to that dog's dinner.
I just think it would. I agree with what Mel and Kat saying about conservatism, but I think as well it was muddled. If there was a message there, I think it got lost at some point. I think we kind of fell for it. Whatever trap Everton set, we kind of fell for it a little bit. And I don't know what that plan was. I mean, all being said, and we're all, me especially, I'm very upset about the result. But despite all of this, you know, the chances that we had throughout the course of the game, you'd expect at least one of them to put away. That's not an excuse. I don't think we were good enough for the win. But what was disappointing for me is one thing that Liverpool have done really, really well over the last couple of seasons is they'll miss one chance, but you know there's going to be another one within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they'll rally and they'll get on top. There was none of that. None of the big chances that we had.
With them followed up
with another chance. It didn't seem to be any momentum. Didn't even seem to, even the set pieces that we had, because we've been talking about set pieces all week and how poor they are and, you know, how much we've been improving, but there was never a sense from any of them that, you know, sometimes you get an impression that, oh, we could get one here.
Just on this, and I'll come back to you, right? One of the things that occurred to me when I was in the ground watching it, on 75, I think we have a bit of a fluffed attack. And I thought, we're not going to score here. And the only time in the Anfield fixture where I thought we weren't going to score, ironically, was when Van Dijk shanked it. Yeah. That's the only time throughout the whole of that game I think it's gone. All the way through that game I think we're going to get one. We are going to get one. I'm really confident. I'm just going, it's going to come. It's going to come. A big chance is going to come. By about 75 there yesterday against Everton, I was like, we're not scoring. We're not scoring.
Last shot on target was Trent's 54th minute. Which is mad.
And, you know, as much as you say, oh, the players aren't affected, I think this is as much to do with the United results as Watford, because it was on the road. It was 0-0, you know, and we weren't great. We weren't great there either. And as much as they say, oh, they're happy and bouncing and training, it just didn't look right. I mean, saying that, Everton did set up the way they set up, and that isn't a criticism of them. You know, you'd expect that. And what I found was interesting in the first half, the one time that Everton did step out and try and press us, that was probably the closest we came to scoring. And I think, if anything, that, ironically, because we didn't score, that was the worst thing that could happen, because it kind of reset Everton.
It allowed them to go, let's not let that happen again.
Let's not do that again.
But we're not 1-0 up.
Yeah.
We can't expect the opposition to play in a way that suits us.
Very much not.
especially when we're up there and we know that for so much of the season that hasn't been the case. We've had to battle. I think there's so many truths, and there seems to be like a fight amongst people that you can only believe in one thing. For example, the fact that Liverpool have been so measured this season is part of the reason why we're in a title race. A big part of it. The fact that, you know, we've hinged on defensive foundations, on solidity. And that is a truth that you can accept. And you can also accept that in situations where ruthlessness and risk and a bit of balls are required in recent weeks, that Liverpool haven't done it. And you don't have to say, okay, conservatism has served us well, so we're just going to, or maybe the better word is being measured has served us well, so we're just going to continue doing that. Situations arise, and you deal with those situations as they arise, and I don't think Liverpool have been good enough in doing that. You can also accept that Liverpool have progressed massively this season. That's not an argument. And yet you can also accept that Liverpool have not just opened the door back for Manchester City in this title race, but ushered them in and put them in front of themselves and said, like, go on, City. Like, but also, it's up to you to now mess up.
But we're all saying it's a shit show, and it's a shit show. But there's 3 big chances to win it, and they don't take them. And 2 of them fall to Mo when he takes an extra touch both times. And it's like, you know, we were trying to get into it on the post-match point. Why? Why did he do that? Because, you know, and it's almost, the thing for me there is, you know, we've defended them, as fans do, over and over again, saying, nah, the pressure's not getting to them. The situation's not getting to them. I think it did a bit.
Yeah.
Think it did a bit, because what that looked like to me, and I know it's a mad comparison, and I'm not saying one is like the other in any way and how they play football, but I think about Emile Heskey when he played footy and played it naturally and didn't overthink it. He was great. He was superb. He scored some brilliant goals for Liverpool. Think about him also when it got on top of his head, of his shoulders, when he allowed the demons in, if you like. You know, he'd go one-on-one with the keeper at that stage, and you'd be looking at it going, he's not going to score. And he didn't. And I think that's what was happening to Mo. They were almost trying to make sure that ball ended up in the back of the net rather than just naturally playing football. I think Fabinho does the same, trying to take some mad touch in the box when he just needs to be throwing either his head at it or falling back and hitting it, or just hit it, lad. You know, it's at a height where you can hit it, you can do something, you can direct it towards the net, and he tries to take a touch again to make sure.
I mean, I'm literally just written that down, trying to make sure, just as Gareth was saying, it's funny, it's like this fearlessness and this freedom that we've been playing with, it just kind of wasn't there. And it was inside, and we'll get into it later in the show, but it was almost as if on 85, we'd kind of almost set up, we kind of reconciled with ourselves that a draw wasn't the worst result in the world, when actually, I'd have rather, for the last 5, if you would have said to me, right, risk getting beat, but go for it. And I don't think we did. I think there was a period, because things weren't falling, as you were saying, and, you know, we just seemed to be doing our own heads in, and there was a couple of things that didn't go our way. The amount of last-ditch tackles, we just need one of them to go right. But I think we settled on it. We'd much rather throw the baby out the bathwater. And I know saying it in hindsight, great. But then, you know, we are where we are. It's the draws that kill you, is what I'm saying. And a point for us, fair enough, it might be a point that wins us the league, or it might be or we might just finish 1 point behind and end up losing the league. So, you know, risk reward, etc., etc. Although, I mean, on the nearly getting in there thing, and I think that the observation about Mo taking extra touches and a few of them is absolutely spot on, and not for the first time, but recently. But like, we just, when I say we've been getting the break of the ball, it's happened a couple of times. The last 5, the one time, the last 10 minutes when we did go for it with the little ball over to Lallana, Robertson, and it just missed. And you know, when you get a sense that it just isn't going to happen, and I think the players got themselves into that mindset ultimately themselves.
A lot of discussion of the manager subs, we will come on to it, Mel, but starting 11 first and foremost. For me, Wijnaldum just didn't look fit, couldn't impact the game, he does occasionally have that sort of game, and then he has a big 15, a big 10, where he this season he's moved from it being often a bit quiet to suddenly it being very, very, very vivid, more than last season when I think it would just remain a bit quiet. But to me, he's got that strapping on, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but he just doesn't look like he's moving as freely. I had a little look at him for a few minutes, and he just doesn't look as easy for him as it did a few weeks back. There'll be a lot of talk about the subs, but I just wonder whether or not starting Wijnaldum in hindsight may have been the wrong thing to do.
Well, when you looked at Everton, you knew the derby at Goodison is going to be a bit of a battle. It will be ugly at times. Everyone accepts that. But that's where you get to the point where you soak up and then you impose, and then you say, no, we're going to dictate the game on our terms. And when I saw the midfield three, I thought, there's a lot of defensive mindedness in there without the creativity. The attack, a large part of the reason they've been underperforming is that there's no midfielder committing the opposition, no midfielders getting into the box enough to assist them. And then they become easier to mark, in essence. Especially against teams that are purposely wanting to be obstructive and are set up so well to thwart them. You need people other than Joel Matip committing the opposition, right? And I looked at those three and I thought, okay, if one of them is going to have the initiative between Henderson and Wijnaldum to commit to play further forward, to be that line breaker, then okay. And none of them were. And so there were large periods where the game was just bypassing midfield. It was just getting lumped from one end to the other. Jurgen complained afterwards about the ball being in the air so much. And, it doesn't help football. Well, Liverpool contributed heavily to that too. If you don't want the ball in the air, stop hoofing it up there.
That I thought that was really annoying. That was one of the most annoying aspects of the game. About said before about it kind of felt like they were trying to do a first half performance that was mature and was clever and takes the heat and the sting out of the situation, but then they were just giving them the ball with balls that they didn't really need to play. Henderson plays the nice one to Salah and nearly gets him in, but other than that, there were lots of long ones again, the same as there was against Manchester United, that are easy to defend, and are probably not going to come off.
My thing on that, Gareth, is I was watching them and he's talked a lot. There's been games where, for instance, we've done a lot of sideways and kept it, and he said afterwards I'd like them to be more direct, and I thought they'd gone too far the other way.
Yeah.
But I think part of his thing there, and this is my Wijnaldum thing, is I think you need someone else to help pick those bits up. If you're going to do that, if you're going to go direct, if you're going to try and turn them around, so the Henderson Salah one's a good example of one that comes off, or pretty much comes off. But I think if you're going to do that, you need to have this is how we win the next ball plan. And that's what I thought was missing from that midfield. Yeah, I take the creativity point from Mel, and I take the third man runner point from Mel, and they're both good points. But in the most basic way, if you're going to go direct, part of the purpose of that is that you get the seconds, and no one was around for the seconds.
No.
That's what I was saying. It was just completely getting bypassed in that area.
I mean, that's where, if the plan was to be conservative, clever, all those words I just said before, whatever, maybe we should have just allowed the derby occasions to get to us a bit. Because if we'd have been in the faces a bit more and been trying to win it higher up, we could have potentially put them under more pressure. I'd still say, though, that despite us routinely saying it's a shit show,
there were chances.
There were chances, and also some of their defending was last ditch, and also you could see how much they wanted that draw. And I wonder of some of the games we've got left. Yeah, we said before, sides don't have to set up in a way that suits Liverpool, but equally, how committed are some of those other sides that we're going to be playing? I don't know that they'll be as committed as Everton to upset Liverpool, because they haven't got that beef. They haven't got that thing with the fans. You know what I mean? Like the whole of Goodison was absolutely rocking to upset Liverpool yesterday, and that's going to push you on as a player. Whereas I think some of the other opposition Liverpool have got for the rest of the season, you could see some routine wins for Liverpool again.
On the Goodison rocking thing, so I was going to ask Paulie, is this so? More off Silver Pub's game. Sorry, excuse me. Awful today. About made seem like this is Goodison and all that kind of stuff.
Air raid side and all that. I didn't, for the most part. I thought it was relatively quiet for a derby. I've been other derbies that have been much more
on top. It's almost like they weren't sure themselves.
I thought they had a big last 20, but I think apart. I thought that game finishes.
Once
in
they
the
could smell the draw, it kind of like.
And also when they saw Everton get on top of it, because would begin to be able to be more attacking.
Yeah. They were bettered by their substitutions. I think that lifted the crowd as well.
Every sub made them think, hang on, this fella. Everyone who came on, they thought this fella can get a goal or make something happen.
Well,
for
they
us.
looked like they were going for it more than us, didn't they, in terms of the subs?
On the substitutions, and I'm happy to be totally wrong. It's not so much who they brought. I mean, I don't agree with some of the players who come on, but I actually think taking Origi off hurt us, especially with playing the diags, because he has got a physicality. And I know that Firmino's great on the deck, winning the ball back and interception, but when the ball's in the air, and I know for a man of his size, Origi could possibly be better than he is, but when he was on our side of the pitch, he was getting more joy either getting something on the ball or even just getting enough or distracting enough to pick up the bits and pieces you were talking about. And it was a bit of I would have actually left them on. I mean, it's horses for courses now.
It's horses for courses, but the one thing that occurs to me is when he does Firmino for Origi, he could actually just do Firmino for Wijnaldum and just go to 4-2-3-1 and do a little bit of that. Push Mane off one flank, Origi off the other, and move Salah down the middle and put Firmino in behind.
Have Firmino between the lines because Liverpool lack.
That's what I mean.
It pulls them out then, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it would have caused Everton a lot more issues. Just on Salah and the chances we spoke about it. When we talk about games like this, I mean, you can't legislate for the fact that Mohamed Salah is unplayable against Watford. Absolutely, like genuinely.
Yep.
Torrid for them to deal with, and then he goes to, in the space of a few days, being unable to play. Every touch was off, every decision was wrong.
It was off from minute one, wasn't it? Minute one, there's one that Henderson plays into him, and he basically kicks it 25 yards away, and you're like, hang on, what's that?
Down the halfway line.
Yeah. And
There was one where he skinned a few of them in the box. There was one moment where you thought, that's Mal.
Yeah,
there he is. And then he curled it into Pickford's hands, didn't he? There was nothing.
Oh yeah, 2 yards further out, and it's top bin. It's more or less identical to the goal he scored against them at Anfield last season.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't. How do you legislate for that happening? But why does he do that? Why is he taking those extra touches and stuff? We speak about title race pressure, but I think it's his own personal pressure and the fact that he hasn't scored for a few games. That he was so brilliant at Watford and it didn't come for anything. That he knows he's only 1 goal away, and he's been only 1 goal away from getting 50 in the league for Liverpool, faster than any other Liverpool player. That Alan Shearer's record of, the quickest to 50 for a single club in the Premier League is 66 games. Yesterday was his 65th game. So I think that there was that individual pressure on himself as well. But also the context of the game, because it was so frantic and scrappy, he was where he would usually be composed and so certain. I think it wasn't helped by the game being so untidy and all over. There almost was this feeling of, gotta make it happen. I
think also, Mel, just to give a bit of praise to Silva in the setup, Digne wants to attack. But he's very clearly told. I mean, the number of times they just basically, he was almost just like a third centre back. He really did just, and I think that helps us in that, in one sense, Salah being very far forward pinned Digne back, and it meant that Digne was going, well, I'm not going anywhere and for much of the game he plays really, really deep. But there's a flip side of that as well, which is, well, that's an example of being pretty well marshalled. Digne's a good player. He's not a dope, and he makes his life difficult. You see that Salah can get the better of him a couple of times, but it's not every single time. And it is making a difference, and simultaneously Everton are also doing a good job of blocking the lanes to get the ball to him. I thought Schneiderlin played really well without ever really kicking the ball. It was one of those games where he just sort of moves around and ensures that that's really tricky, and Gay gets to go and press and be a bit more aggressive, whereas Schneiderlin just trundled around the pitch but was just ensuring none of these passes to Mane or Salah will be easy for you. And I think that for me, that's the biggest credit to Everton moments, and the credit to the Everton manager is he gets that right.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time, as you say, on Salah, but also Trent, because I think they saw that Liverpool's right can be quite dangerous, as Watford learned, so weren't really giving them many opportunities or spaces or just... But in saying that, it was... Liverpool playing within themselves makes that look better than it
Absolutely
is.
Agree.
It's and a genuine. We can talk about everything, substitutions and starting lineup and all those things, but the team that starts the game against Everton's team that starts the game, and you're sitting there at Goodison and you're watching that first half and you're thinking to yourself, the moment Liverpool take control here, that's the moment that they own this game. They get the result that they want. They get the win. And that moment just never came, which for me was the most disappointing element, that at no point Liverpool take the initiative to design that game the way they want to. And it just, I kept thinking, okay, they're going to go in at halftime. They're going to get all their instructions. They're going to, look at a few video clips, and they're going to come out. And that's the moment where, right, this is our game. This is our title. This is our everything. And it just got worse. It got worse and worse and worse as the second half progressed.
It was almost, sorry Neil, it was almost strangely, eerily similar to the Anfield derby, in so much as what Gareth was saying as well, as the game went on, and we all laugh now about Origi scoring, but in the last 20 minutes of the game at Anfield, Everton actually had more of the ball.
They played better at Anfield.
Yeah, than us. And it was, I don't know what it is. I know we haven't got the best record against Marco Silva anyway, but it just seemed almost like a carbon copy again.
Well, just
without the cherry at the end.
To sort of go against Mel's earlier point about the context of the game, it is worth pointing out that it's now 3 Goodison derbies on the bounce when no one scored within the 90 minutes. It is also, you can put it as a piece with the Anfield derby, which is 0-0, and this one as well. It is all. There's been a few of them. Now it's now 3 derbies on the bounce, for instance, where no one scored within regulation time. And I do wonder if there is a bit of a strange thing around this game at the minute that Liverpool haven't quite got to grips with. I think if you look at Klopp's derby record, it's good, but there's been Liverpool managers who've had better derby records, and it is also punctuated by 2 injury time goals, which, trust me, I wouldn't give away for the world. But this isn't the realm of for instance, Benitez's Liverpool going to Goodison and just beating them 2-0 because they feel like it, and even going down to 10 men and beating them. It's not quite that, and maybe that speaks a little bit about where Everton are at the minute, but maybe it says that we're finding them a little bit tough. Wanted to Gareth, there's misses, and then there's missing the thing that leads up to the chance, and I think there's a fair bit of that goes on. For instance, on that bad choice of the ball, there's an argument Henderson should do better with the Salah aftermath when Salah has the chance, and it comes out to Henderson on the edge of the box. There's about 3 different things he can do, other than the things he does do.
The thing he does do is sort of nothing, isn't it?
In the end, yeah. It's almost like he doesn't know what to do, so he's racked with indecision. There's a few of that, really, the ball before the ball not being right.
There was loads of that. And again, for all that we want to say, it's not getting to them and it's not a thing and all the rest of it, you do wonder. Because, we've done the thing, we've all done the thing where you go through the squad and you say, well, he did this and he did that and he's played there and all that kind of thing. But it is huge what we're involved in here. And it is Liverpool's, a football mad city, and it's just never stopping. Like, wherever they go, whatever those players do, they're being reminded every single day. Win the league for us, boys. Win the league for us, boys. It's been 29 years, we're all desperate for it, I know, however the manager tries to control them mentally, whatever they've got behind the scenes in terms of psychiatrists and everything else, I just think it's virtually impossible to shut this out. And it's interesting. I thought it's interesting to see some of the debate today about Robertson's interview, even Klopp's interviews after the game. There's a lot of talk that there you're seeing people who are rattled. And it's like, well, yeah. Or are they just pissed off with the media at the moment? Are they just not asked about, you've blown it when you've got 9 games to go, when you've got 27 points to play for? Are they just a little bit pissed off with that narrative? And they might be. And I think it's just all about the bouncing back now, isn't it, again? And look, we the way the fixtures fall, we can actually go top of the league again, can't we? Because we've got 2, and City have got 1, and then there's the break. So we beat Burnley, we beat Fulham. We know we're back at the top. Okay, I haven't played the game more. But, we're constantly rattling on about psychology. Well, there you go, we're back. We still haven't gone away. That's what they've got to do. Yeah.
The disappointing thing, I think, has been the performances. So since the turn of the year, there's been so much missing. And then you have that Watford game. And ignore the scoreline, because, people always think 3, 4, 5 goals just means, yes, that's Liverpool. But without those goals, the actual fundamental play in that game, the speed, thought, of feet, the movement, the intention to engage the opposition, to pull them out of place, to commit them.
It had bollocks about it.
Yeah, it was everything. It was brave, it was courageous, it was free, but at the same time it was measured still. Liverpool were exceptional defensively. So you're thinking to yourself, the Watford game happens and you're sitting there and you're thinking, yes, Liverpool, there's 10 games to go. You found it. You found it at such an appropriate time, because you just take that and you run with it for the rest of the season. And yes, obviously, the Goodison derby was not going to be, as I don't want to say Watford was an easy game, because it wasn't. Liverpool made it that way by how they played.
Watford played quite well.
But that games are going to be different, and there's going to be, contrasting elements to play with. But the characteristics of your play, you can take it and make it. Liverpool are good enough to impose themselves on whatever game's happening. And so for that performance to happen where you think, finally, so many questions answered, to then revert to that against Everton where there's just no chance creation, everything looks so laboured, there's hardly any speed. Sadio Mane made so many good runs, and, sitting in the press box, you're discussing with colleagues, like...
There's one Trent should feed him. To go back to this decisions thing, there's one where, I'm normally, my general view, we were quite low down, but my normal thing is, well, just because you can see it doesn't mean the player can.
Yeah.
But there's one where I've got, because we were low down, I've got Trent's eye line, and Trent can see it. He can see he's in, there's a pass he can play, and in the end he goes the other way, and it was hugely frustrating, where I think, if you slip him there, he's in one-on-one, and that's one of them, Mel. There's 4, 5, 6 others where there's just a ball on and Liverpool choose not to play it.
Yeah, you spoke there about, the ball before the ball and stuff. I thought Liverpool were the biggest hindrance to themselves with their decision-making, which was just off. They made more poor decisions than they did good decisions. And it's not, just speaking in... People often think that because it's a draw, because you so desperately want to win, because Liverpool are chasing the title, that you exaggerate everything. But sitting there, and also when you have the benefit, I've got to work with a lot of other clubs, so I speak to a lot of people at other clubs. And when you get their analysis on things or their interpretation, which takes you out of your bubble of how you're viewing things, you just understand how people view Liverpool's capabilities. And in a sense, you're even more disappointed that Liverpool haven't actually imposed themselves.
Andy, the subs then. Milner's mad 10 is worth talking about. It's worth dwelling on, in that it is. I wrote in my little piece post-match, it is a reminder that even at the very highest level, even genuinely brilliant footballers, and Milner was brilliant against Watford, even at that level, you can have 10 minutes where it genuinely looks like you just put your boots on the wrong way around. I have never seen the likes from Milner. I suspect he's sitting at home today looking at himself like, what was all that about? You can have a conversation. It actually makes it hard, I think, to discuss whether or not the manager made the right sub. Because
I think James Milner will be sitting there thinking he should have started.
Yeah. That's true, but I think he may also be... to have had that 10 minutes is about the worst I've ever seen anybody play.
Well, the 10 minutes, the first 90 seconds of him, that little bit by the touchline there, where he gives it away, we win it back, we get a throw in, he gets the ball, the throw goes straight to him, and he literally just passes it to nothing. I don't know, it's always awkward. They say, don't they, it's the cliche that it can take you 10 minutes to get into a game. But he looked like he'd just been woken up. Come on, James, you're on now. It's funny, isn't it? I think Mel's just made a great point there. What was poor? Was the plan poor? Was the execution poor? Or was a combination of both? I thought the substitution sent the wrong message. If we're talking about messages again, I think the game was crying out for maybe not, I'll just say Naby Keita, or maybe a more Xherdan Shaqiri, if you will. I think when they make that substitution, it sends a message that, we're a little bit worried here about Everton. And I think that fed, more than as much as it debilitated Liverpool, I think that fed into the crowd going up. And, and it gave Everton a bit more belief. And I think at the same time, Milner could come on, blam one in, and then he's made a fool out of everyone. But it's just that you always look for reasons, and I mean, that's our job, just to sit here and talk about it and the whys, whats and maybes. Whether it was right or wrong, I'm not convinced it was the right sub. It certainly didn't work out.
It was spectacular, to be honest with you. Now, as I say, I'll say this.
I was laughing about it, to be honest.
Oh, yes, so was I. I got to the point in the ground where it was just funny in that to see someone just everything just go badly wrong for him and like be looking at himself like, what on earth is this? And it does happen, Gareth. I mean, and as I say, it makes it hard to sort of genuinely do a judgment call on the sub because you're left going, well, I think the manager, as a bare minimum, expects you to be able to pass it 5 yards.
Well, yeah, and look, you know, the derby and the derby atmosphere's got to loads of players down the years. I mean,
do you think it got? Actually, you think about Milner. I think he just stinks.
He just has a shit game.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why Shaqiri doesn't get on. It was the big thing for me. We bought him to be a difference maker, and we needed someone to make a difference, and then he sat on the bench. And like, you know, maybe it's a fitness issue. Again, you know, you got to always put that caveat in there that we don't.
He's had a stomach injury, and I think that's almost your worst injury in a really weird way. In that, you know, maybe in terms of getting faith back from everybody that you're all right, because it's very difficult to demonstrate it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe this is rubbish sports science from me.
No, but I mean, we don't know, do we? On that, we don't know the relative fitnesses of all the players. I mean, for me, Lallana's a bizarre substitution just because I've seen some people saying, well, you know, he's going to hold the ball and he takes care of the ball and things like that. But I just think, well, when's the last time he really influenced a match? When you see him, what's he done recently to deserve to be coming on the pitch there? And for me, Shaqiri sends out a more positive message that you're trying to win the game. And I wasn't that into Jurgen's PlayStation comments or whatever about, you know, put 9 forwards on and blah, blah, blah. Like, we do need to win, Jurgen. And we have now handed Man City the advantage in the title race. And we might get it back and we might get another opportunity. But it's quite big that we've handed them an advantage. And look, I mean, there's still a thing with City just on that as well, by the way, that their form has been absolutely phenomenal to get back to the top of the league. That bit seems to have gone a bit amiss. Like, what they've done, we've made them do that. Do you know what I mean? So if they get 98 points, having posted 100 last year, well, fair fucking play. Do you know what I mean? Like, you deserve to win the league then, don't you? And like, if we get 97 and don't, we're all right saying we're fucking unlucky there then, aren't we? I mean, fuck me. A record number of points for the club, in the history of the club, and we don't win the league. We can say we're hard done to there.
But at the same time, you will go back to games like this, to games like United, where if you take control of it, if you decide we're owning this game and this is the only option, then, you know, maybe it's 78, 79 points, then, you know.
Just on the PlayStation comments from Gareth, I was just thinking about this then. Look, this isn't... If you take what I'm about to say out of context, it sounds like I'm slaughtering, and maybe I am slaughtering a little bit of criticism. I think Jurgen could be a little bit more streetwise around his comments in and around certain games. And also just to be more aware of his behaviour. So, for instance, we've already seen that. Look, he might think that the weather's inclements affected the game. Mate, don't fucking say it.
He talks about the weather every game now. I mean,
I understand that, but then there's this footage of him losing his rag with the ball boy as well, and they're all going mad about that. But you might feel that. I know I'm being overly harsh, but it's just...
Andy's got a point, because beyond what it looks like to the media, beyond what it looks like to the opposition fans that you've just played, so, you know, like you say, Everton fans delighted with that and stuff, it's about what are City seeing when they see those things, and what are your other what's your other general rivals?
What are your own players seeing? I mean, you ultimately, like, you know, we can say it's all nonsense around the media, and a lot of the time, you know, me in particular, I'll rip into some of the shit to see, having worked in it and I know how it works. But equally though, you know, he is a leader and he knows where his words go and he knows how they get twisted and all that, and he can say...
So don't give him anything.
Exactly. He can say he doesn't give a fuck about them all he wants. But, you know, like, if and you know, I'm joining dots now, but like, if there's someone sitting at Melwood going, why the fuck's he going on up the wind? Why are you going up the wind, mate? We played shit. You know, if that, you don't want that creeping in. You want everyone to have the leader's got to have respect of everyone else in the group. and he doesn't want to chip away at that himself.
But I think though it depends on what you actually want. In that I actually quite like the fact that he's routinely very honest after football matches, and I think it comes from a different football culture. And I think what happens in this football culture is stuff gets absolutely jumped on and becomes that's absolutely ridiculous. Whereas the one he comes from,
he's been here long enough now to know that stuff gets jumped on.
Yeah, but my worry with this is it all sounds a little bit like us saying that we want more from Benitez with the media when Benitez is doing a really good job managing Liverpool. And my thing about that is I think Jurgen, not dissimilar to Benitez, I think that Jurgen and Benitez have loads in common, much more so than people give them credit for. Like, when he says he's just going to be himself in the same way that Benitez was just being himself, and he genuinely doesn't give that much of a fuck about the wider thing. And I'm all right with that. In that I was all right with it when Rafa was doing it, so I'm an absolute hypocrite if I'm saying I'm not all right with it now. But I am just sort of like, I think he just thinks, yeah, I'm going to be... You ask me this question, I'm going to give you this answer, because that's the answer I give you anyway.
You can be... But Neil, so I am going to be a hypocrite now. So...
Yeah, all the lads will never slag Rafa off. Go on.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, and you know what? That's what I'm going to say. But you can be yourself, but you don't have to be yourself at volume 10 all the time. You can dial it down. I don't think he is.
He's being himself.
He's got a grin on his face when he says the things about the win, which kind of makes me think he knows where it's going to go. He knows that it's going to get blown up and all the rest of it, and it has done.
So when Rafa come out with the facts thing, it was the greatest thing in my life. Well, not in my life. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And I was made up that he'd done it. And I thought, fucking go ahead. And I remember, funny enough, I remember having an exchange with Sonny Barrett at the time. And Sonny was like, I'm not sure about this. I went, nah, it's fucking brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. You know what? And I'm not saying he changed what happened in the title race. But you know what? Looking back at it, maybe now I'm thinking, you fell for it there, mate. You fell for it. Say what you want privately, sound.
I don't think it made any difference either way to what happened on the footy pitches.
But you know what it makes? You know what it does? It makes a difference to my. I've got. I just said at the top of the show, I've got a fucking massive cob on today, and I'm looking at it. I'm trying to ignore all these I'm not going to say because I'm going to get thrown back. Dial it down. But like, it just gives these fucking two-faced idiots ammunition. And I don't forget about the football for a minute. I'm having a fucking shit day. It was a shit day yesterday, and you know what? I can't be arsed with all this fucking weather chat. So even for my personal sanity, can we not do it, please?
It's the same weather for both sides.
Yeah, exactly that. But
wind's blowing one way.
And people don't care that he's been saying it since his first winter here, since his first experience of the win, that he says it so often. They don't care.
Yeah.
It will all build up to each other. The Henderson, you haven't shaken my hand, the wind, the PlayStation comment, all of that.
That's how you want it, Jurgen. It's fucking dead windy in Kirby when you go and train there.
But there's something. But my thing on this, Mel, is that you're either and this is what worries me, because we did the same thing with Benitez. Is we either say we want these people to be themselves and let them be themselves, or we end up chipping away at any little bit of them ourselves within the Liverpool supporter base, and we end up chipping away at them. And what that actually does is, when this season we get 97 points. As Gareth says, we get 97 points and we don't win it. And then next season, when we played 10, won 6, drawn 2, lost 2, still doing all right in Europe, but City had played 9, drawn 1, everyone's saying, could be time for a change. And we cannot, but my thing is, this is the journey we went on with Benitez. It's the same journey of the fella goes and bees himself, and then what happens is everyone says, I'd rather he wasn't, anymore, because I'm getting a bit irritated.
I think when we speak about people doing themselves, being themselves, Jurgen is also very, very intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
And very organised and very acutely aware of how things are, put out there. And so he can... It's not saying don't be yourself, Jurgen. It's just saying you say everything you said yesterday without mentioning the weather.
Well, exactly.
I don't even mind the PlayStation comment in a sense of, I think he was annoyed with the way the question was phrased, and maybe didn't particularly get the gist of. People weren't saying play all your attacking players, or which is maybe the way he felt it was put to him, but so I didn't even mind that. It's just. The first thing, so he says about the win, and you know what the first question to Marco Silva is? Jurgen Klopp's just mentioned the win.
Exactly.
Did you, the next follow-up question like that?
Conflict, of course.
And then follow-up question, did you feel the wind was a factor. Did you feel
It's
it
like the World
influenced
Cup
the game?
shit. You know, Jürgen saying World Cups and then Silver's going on about World Cups. No fucking World Cups were paid for. It was a Merseyside derby, but everyone was talking about fucking World Cups.
And you can't, you say we want these people to be who they are, and I'm not just picking it for the sake of picking. I've got a cob on. But he can temper it, because when he first arrived, he was dropping the F-bomb every other week. And then he stopped it. So is it really?
Well,
that
he's tempered himself, I think, a bit from when he's got in full stop. I think he's a very different Jurgen Klopp to the one who was at Dortmund, and I think that's crystal clear to any sort of long-term observer.
Yeah,
my thing is that my thing with all of this is, and as this starts, and as it's literally starting in front of my eyes, is I've seen this happen to every other Liverpool manager in moments when things haven't gone quite right after lots of things have gone right, and it becomes a chipping away of the things that are said, not just what's on the pitch. I've seen it for Houllier, I've seen it for Benitez, I saw it for Rodgers, and now all of a sudden here we are.
It's just my opinion.
No, it's fine. It's not just your opinion, Andy. It's lots of people's opinion. Don't worry about it. There's lots of people saying it. My thing is, I'll just stick with what's on the pitch on the whole. And we're not far away from Andy Gray talking about subs on 60 minutes.
It's more to do with the dickheads around it than what Jurgen's saying is what I'm trying to articulate.
But if you're Jurgen, Jurgen's sitting there and he's going, I can't be asked thinking about those dickheads. I don't want to think about dickheads. I'm thinking about football. And that's where he ends up, and I'll broadly speaking back sound football people. It was smart, and as you say, Benitez was organised, and Benitez was structured, and Benitez knew what he was doing. But it doesn't matter, because there'll always be something. And the next thing that happens is, like Benitez, like Mourinho, like Ferguson, like whoever you want, he's just coming out in front of, after having done 90 minutes of football managing, and then got a microphone in front of him.
Yeah.
And I just think at some sort of point you've either got to say these are our lads or they're not, and he's my fucking lad. Virgil van Dijk's also my lad. Gareth, he was absolutely brilliant.
He was fucking brilliant, wasn't he? Yeah, and he's such a... It just seemed like it was him having everyone off for 90 minutes in terms of Everton did. I mean, Mel mentioned before, like a bizarre tactic really to play the balls that they were playing when you never beaten Virgil, and you didn't beat him. You didn't beat him all day. I liked when he sort of hoovered up a couple of things and seemed to be having a go at people around them, basically saying, am I just doing this on my own, boys, or what? Yeah, you are, mate, yeah.
It's like if you're Robertson, you're saying you haven't seen what James Milner's doing up there, mate, to be honest with you.
But look, you know, the fact that we've got him as well, I mean, look, like, I just think, like, we've got to keep the conversation positive. I had some argument with some bellend on Twitter last night. Hope you're listening, mate. And, you know, he was like, you know, you're just putting a positive spin on things because you've got a product to sell. And I'm like, no, I'm not. This is what I think, mate. This is actually what I think. I actually think we're having a great season. I actually think I've watched lots of shit.
It's obvious we're having a great season.
I actually think that we've got a sustained challenge at the top of the league for the first time for a long time. And look, if we have to go and do it again next season, I think we will as well, because we've tied down all our best players to long-term contracts. We've got a good manager. We've got the supporters in a good place where they turned up for a game at Bournemouth and they supported the side like they should do. I expect them to go and do the same thing when we play Burnley. People are already throwing back at me when I mention that, but it's 12 o'clock on a Sunday. Well, self-fulfilling prophecy, boys. If you say it's going to be shit because it's 12 o'clock on Sunday, it will be shit. But if you decide to go and support the side, it will be different. So make it fucking different and stop being a fucking miserable.
Get the boozers open at 10. And the other thing we've got, Gareth, is we've got Virgil van Dijk.
We've got Virgil van Dijk. We've got a good defence. We've got a great goalkeeper. And that's a brilliant basis to go on and win all of the points that are left and throw it back at City.
On the defence thing, and Robertson particularly, one of the most impressive things about Van Dijk's performance was in the first opening 10, because they were targeting Robertson. Time and time again, they were going out to that byline and they were trying to jump all over him. And within 5-10 minutes, Van Dijk, every time the ball came over, and he packed in after 15. On that, and the positive is this is our fourth game in about 5 where we've clean sheet. Go back
It's 7
hours without conceding.
7 hours without conceding. I mean, I don't know in the context of we never won the game, blah, 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 blah. But quietly, we're actually very, very resolute. I think I said it in the pub last night after we finished the show. This, as crap as yesterday was, I think not so long ago with that performance, Everton end up getting one.
Yeah.
And not just Everton, the amount of away games we've seen now where, you know, unless we play well, we've lost to the odd goal. And I think as much as Van Dijk was imperious, I think the goalkeeper just brings so much calm to that back line. And one thing I noticed, one thing I've noticed about the goalkeeper as well, corners now, if you watch it, he doesn't have a Liverpool defender in front of him. I've only gone on to that the last couple of games. I noticed it at United, I noticed it at Everton. When the opposition get a corner, so normally the setup is, and it's great podcasting this, isn't it? But normally your goalie's there, and for years and years and years, with Loris Karius or Simon Mignolet or whoever, a Liverpool player would position themselves between the goal. So normally you have an opposition player on the goalie. And what normally happens with most teams is a Liverpool defender will then try and get himself in the middle of that to try and, to create a barrier. Alisson Becker doesn't do that. To have the balls, the courage and the calm and the authority to do that, and it's working. And the bonus to that side is you've now got another Liverpool defender in the box who's not just trying to buffer someone out of the way, and you've got a goalie confident enough that he hasn't got a barrier in front of him. And the other side effect of that is, and I'm going off on a minor point here, you give yourself a better run-up. Because if you're stood in your line and someone stood immediately in front of you and then someone stood then, if you want to try and come for a cross, you've got more bodies in the way. Whereas now, where the situation at the minute, he's just free to do what he wants. Sorry, back to the original point.
On the technical aspect, I was a bit distraught, distressed, pissed off that we literally saw Virgil score with his head twice against Watford, and then we were fucking around with them corners. What were we doing? Like, you got a big. I know they've got big lads as well. Like, but Virgil's brilliant in the air.
And they're shit at set pieces as well. They concede the shit.
Yeah, the top of the league for conceding set piece goals. So
at least the top of the league is something, Gareth.
Well, yeah. But so I didn't get the short corners. I didn't get why we're fucking around with those things. Get it in the box and give Virgil an opportunity to put it in the back of the net.
I think that Virgil's display, when we speak about an untidy game, the ball just being hoofed all over the show and no real direction or sort of structure to anything, just makes his performance all the more impressive, because he just it didn't matter where the ball was coming from or what it was doing or how it was skidding across the box or whatever. He was in complete control of the defensive side of the game.
Even lashed out some needle.
Yeah, he
said about them celebrating 0-0s.
Did he? I missed this. I've seen this mentioned. Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, lad.
Yeah, he was, in my opinion, player of the season, undoubtedly. I don't think anyone's been as transformative. When centre-backs, previous centre-backs are talking about, actually cooing about him and his performances and his calmness, then you know that he's the absolute business. Even if City win the league, I think he should be player of the season. You could talk from City's perspective. Bernardo Silva, I think, has been tremendous.
Yeah, tremendous.
Absolutely tremendous. Raheem Sterling's possibly got a shot, but I think Bernardo Silva's been the best player for them. But yeah, I said at the start of the show, Liverpool have an elite defence, and they absolutely do. And this title charge has been based on that. Yeah, Liverpool still need to win games, and they still need to do what Neil's favourite thing is, which is put the round thing in the rectangular
just fucking
thing.
win.
Well, they need to. No, I think Liverpool needs to commit to scoring. I'm sure I've just been saying it recently, but Liverpool needs to start setting up in a manner which is score 3 a game. What's your 3 a game plan? Because if we score 3, no one's scoring 3.
Look, as much as... Sorry, Matt, go on.
No.
So as much as I'm made up, I've done this show now because I'm feeling a little bit better about it, so thanks very much. Self-therapy is great, isn't it? City being top by a couple of points isn't arsing me as much as it was, because it's one thing I will say is that you look at the fixtures, we're all right.
1 point, by the way.
1 point. Sorry, 1 point. Correction. City's injuries are going to bite at some point. And I think as much as, everyone's upset about yesterday, I think it's important to remember that it is only a point, as Gareth just pointed out, and we've got a run of perfectly winnable fixtures. And City might... Hey, look, if City don't blink and City win all their games, as Gareth said earlier, fair play to them. Absolutely fair play. Hats off, all that gibber. But I think we can get tied up in the immediacy and the doom and gloom, says me, who's sat here crying for the last hour. But, you look at City, De Bruyne's out now, isn't he? Fernandinho's out. They've got Laporte's out. Laporte's out. John Stones is out. I don't want to get all Kevin Keegan and all that, but...
They've got to go to Manchester United, exactly. And I'll tell you what.
Exactly.
It's more for me, we've just got to worry about what we do, Mel. Yeah. And I think that the next two are massive. Beat Burnley, beat Fulham, as Gareth said before, get to that international break. And then
forget about yesterday.
Yeah, just let it go. Yeah. And Burnley Sunday, is a good opportunity to do that. It'll be a tough game because they'll be physical, but they've now lost two on the bounce, Burnley. It is an opportunity, put it right, get on top, and go from there, I think. And for me, that's... Liverpool being in touch, 4 games to go. Sound. Let's go all the way in this.
Completely. For me, that's the only thing. Liverpool concentrate on what they need to do, which partially I think my annoyance is, have we been too measured in some games because we think we just want to be within touching distance, and we assume there's more twists and turns, and we look at City's schedule and we think, they're there. They're going to drop points to just be there and thereabouts.
They've only been winning by the odd goal though, Mel, as well,
I know, but it's part of... I don't want Liverpool doing that thing. I don't want Liverpool thinking City could do that. I want Liverpool to focus entirely on Liverpool and to win all their remaining games, because they are fully capable of doing that. The games they've dropped points in recently, they were fully capable of winning those games. I think Leicester were very lucky in the Leicester game because they were awful in that one, but there's a lot left to do in this title race and a long way to go, and I think the fan base are so important in don't throw in the towel, don't accept that it's over, don't give up. Until there is nothing left, you've got to continue. You can be frustrated with performances, be frustrated with drop points, because we all are. It's only normal. But there's still such a long way to go, a lot of football to play, and Liverpool have shown that they can play very good football.
I still think we're going to win the league. Genuinely not messing about. So when I said this morning, do you honestly think that? And I started the season, so this is now. I started the season saying I think we'll break the record for the highest number of points any side's got and come second. So I said at the start of the season, so it'd be easy for me to say, well, the thing I said at the start of the season, I genuinely think we're going to win the league.
We've got every chance, look, and I just think, honestly, I'm not trying to fucking sell a product, mate. I'm trying to say we should get behind our football team and support them and do everything we can. Lads. They've done brilliantly. Guardiola's come out with a quote there about, if a bunch of athletes come second, it doesn't. We concentrate too much on the first, if you like.
He's absolutely right.
And I totally get what he's going on about. This isn't like all the bollocks that you see people say about accepting failure and trying to spin things and all that. They've done brilliantly, Liverpool, to be where they are. They've done brilliantly all season. And if our heads go as a collective, you're talking before about the influence on a manager getting sacked and things like that, and starting to pick a scab about him saying this, him saying that. We can do this about the side as well. We can all dive on social media and argue with people all day and assume it means fuck all.
Says Gareth Roberts.
Or we can say, do you know what? Maybe our players are on here, maybe our staff are on here, maybe they're having a little look, maybe they feel emotions in the ground, maybe they hear the moans, maybe they know when they're called you or worse. And look, Bournemouth, we reacted really positively as a group of supporters, and we got behind them and we supported them, and they played well and they produced some good football and they blew Bournemouth away. They did the same against Watford. They can do the same against Burnley. Burnley have conceded something like 53 goals in the league. Fulham have conceded 65, which is absolutely wild. We're going to get chances against those sides. And are those sides going to get many chances against us? We've conceded 15 all season in the league. The defence has been brilliant. The goalie's brilliant. Van Dijk's brilliant. We've got every chance of winning this league. So let's treat the situation as such.
Everyone's got their favourite players. My favourite player is the 11 who wear red for Liverpool at any given moment. Even James Milner, when he's playing like that, becomes one of your favourite players. That's the way the whole thing's meant to work. It's another thing as well to talk about coming second. And fair play to the side that's going to finish second this year. They'll have averaged over 90 points across 2 seasons. Well done to Manchester City for that. Liverpool are going to go and be champions.